What up, everybody? It's the Preachers and Sneakers podcast on YouTube, trying a couple new things to freshen things up. I think I've probably said that 2 or 3 times over the past few months, but have since gotten distracted or unmotivated to keep it up. This is my attempt at continuing the Preachers and Sneakers brand without being tired. Posting the same tired content, although plenty of people just want me to post that, which is fine, I guess, but not exactly creatively inspiring by any means, especially coming off of a year straight of talking about the book and all the topics that are in the book over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So you can imagine that I wanted to change things up and try to make it interesting again. I mean, that's the reality of what's really been going on. People have been asking me the past couple of weeks, like, where have you been? Which sounds like totally like a lot of you have been asking me about my skincare routine type thing. And maybe that's the same thing. But I have legitimately had several people ask, like, dude, where have you been? You haven't posted in weeks. Is this account dead? That kind of thing. And it's a complicated question because the account is not dead and I have still been here in the same place, but I've had a lot of things competing for my time and attention that are more important than Instagram. Speaking of, it's October 4th right now, and Instagram has been down all day, which has actually been awesome. For an addict like me, and probably for a lot of you out there, Instagram being down is probably a healthy thing to happen every once in a while, to be forced to be off of it. But of course, everybody just went over to Twitter and TikTok and dunked on Instagram and Facebook, which they deserve it. But also, there was some like doom and gloom discussions about like Facebook going away completely, and I don't think people realize the economic impact that would have, considering so many businesses are based on Instagram and Facebook. I guess technically mine included, even though mine is a losing business. Anyway, so I figured I would give a quick update about where I've been. So the book came out April 21st of this year, and if you haven't, it's about as cheap as it'll ever be. You can get it on all the retailers for basically pennies now. I was really excited about the release of the book and really excited about doing the press, all the, I guess, hype around people checking out the book and finding out who I was, that kind of thing. But the reality is that a weird thing happened, or an unexpected thing happened. I say we because I had several people on the publisher team, the publicist team, my agent, everybody. We were placed in pretty much every major news outlet, at least on print and online. I didn't do a ton of TV, but I did some like morning news shows like WGN Chicago, Inside Edition, a couple others. And, Inside Edition, I don't even think got posted because I was so bad. A funny story is it was my first TV interview, and it was like a day or two after we had our child. And so I basically was up all night and had to wake up and try to be coherent doing this interview. And I'm assuming it was so bad that they just couldn't release it, which is fine. But anyways, super pumped to get into the book release special season of the podcast plan. I was doing these IG lives. I was posting, different types of content. And I think we sold the first week, having been in the New York Times, the Washington Post, NPR, readership in the millions. Did all those placements. We did morning radio, the Christianese radio shows, that kind of thing. And we sold like 1,400 books. And if you know anything about book sales, maybe you don't. I didn't until this whole experience. Is like, you got to sell tens of thousands of books to even be to even qualify to make royalties. And so for all the pretentious D-bags that have been praying against my success, congrats, you won. Your prayers were answered. We sold. Release week isn't the only week that the books are sold, but since then, it's only really been an incremental increase. And so you put all this work and energy and excitement into a release. You do the release. There's a bunch of buzz around it. People are excited about it, yet there basically are 0 book sales, to the point where I had to find a way to actually like buy diapers for this new baby that came out at the same time. Like, we had our child a week before the book came out. The book comes out, and I'm like, oh, maybe we'll sell enough books that, I can just do the author thing for the next year or so. Not the case by any means. There's a ton of books out there, and they're coming out every single day. Unless you have a, embedded platform of congregants that are coming to your church for spiritual guidance, that are basically guaranteed to buy your book. It's pretty hard to do well selling a book independently, especially a book that's like poking at the whole system, the industry, pointing at myself, that kind of thing. You know, a book that doesn't make you feel rah-rah, like everything's going to be okay. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps and God's going to make me healthy and wealthy, that kind of thing. You know, it's definitely not a self-help book. It's kind of the opposite. It's getting people to reflect and hopefully the active version of the word of introspection. Anyways, it's a tool for introspection, the book is. We didn't know how the book was going to do. It was hard to project because it's kind of a unique book, which I was proud of. I was proud that the book was unique, but it sold to the people that super supported me, like my email list and that kind of stuff. But when people ask, like, where are the profits going for these book sales? I cannot overstate to you how zero profits I've made on book sales. And believe me, I would have loved to make some profits to be criticized for making, but in turn, I made zero. So congrats. If you want to make profits, you generally have to write a book that's repurposed sermons that are saying basically, God wants a good life for you. You just have to have more faith and work harder, because that's what people want to hear. They want motivation. They don't want to hear that there might be some things that are going wrong in their established circles. So that's the book. The conclusion of that is I had to make some career decisions like, hey, not selling books doesn't exactly pay a mortgage and put diapers on the baby. So I had to go stop working on the book stuff and the content stuff and go out and find actual employment. Was kind of the plan before the Instagram blew up when I was getting my MBA, but I had kind of taken a detour from that because I was like, oh, maybe this book thing will work out. Maybe I'm an author and whatever. Because come to find out, having a lot of Instagram followers does not immediately translate into getting put up in the Ritz at Nobu every single night. Like, you don't just make money because you have a ton of followers on Instagram. You do on YouTube, but not on Instagram. You can imagine that I wasn't exactly motivated to keep posting if I was losing money and being called a hypocrite at the same time while losing money. And so I had to basically spend some real dedicated time recruiting and trying to find a job. And so that took a few months. And of course, like my brain was switched into interviewing recruiting mode instead of creative posting social media influencer. I'm kind of in the same spot where it's just like, all right, I've beat the thing to death. It's all in the book. Every thought I have about preachers and sneakers and celebrity pastors and getting rich off of preaching is in the book. I've also beat it to death in the marketplace. And so now having an account with a ton of followers, but no real brand identity or direction is kind of a strange place to be. And I'm just going to be real. That's where I'm at. And so, my agent wants me to post more. The publisher obviously wants me to post more, but it's really not netting me any kind of return. Somebody emailed me when I sent out my newsletter, of which you can subscribe to on PreachersNSneakers.com. Somebody emailed me like asking me where all the profits were going from the account and the book and everything. And I said, no worries, bro. I literally lose money on this month over month. So thanks for the question, in really good faith. I still have the Instagram account. I'm still be posting. There's a couple like moonshot things that if they were to happen could bring some new life to the account, kind of in the entertainment space. And it is just like such a slim chance of it happening, but there is a chance of some big kind of entertainment things come from Preachers and Sneakers. And so we're hoping and praying for that, but I'm not putting too much stock in it just because it's like nobody's signed anything. Nobody's sent us any money or anything. But podcasting is one of the things that I actually enjoy doing, even if the podcast doesn't have a ton of direction right now. I'm going to have to like reshape, for the longest time it was an interview-based podcast, and I think that was good, but I think it probably needs a new flavor to it because it's talking about the same stuff. The conversation kind of reaches a natural point where it's like, well, we don't know the best answer, but we should probably keep talking about it. And so I'll probably still have people to interview. It just seems like I should go down a different path. And so for the time being, the podcast or the YouTube is going to be me talking about exactly what I want to talk about, which seems like should have been that from the get-go, but is influenced by a lot of other people because they have vested interests in it. Obviously, I don't love using my account to like promote the book or to promote any kind of like publicist related thing. That feels very disingenuous to me, but I did it in order to try to, do right by the publisher and sell as many books as we could. And it's just like basically failed. So anyways, this YouTube is me trying to keep the account going, keep the conversation going a little bit, but also just be an outlet for me to talk about whatever I want to talk about because this is my freaking world. That's that. Thanks for asking if you have asked where I've been. And I'll probably be back. I'm probably going to start posting here, assuming Instagram comes back up and doesn't go away completely. If Instagram went away, that would rock so many freaking people. I would be materially like unaffected, but I would lose 270,000 followers and a blue check mark if you care about that kind of thing. So we'll see. Maybe by the time this posts, Instagram will be no more. If you subscribe to my newsletter, I'd send out a blurb about this week in Preachers, this week in Sneakers, what I'm reading, what's going on, featured posts, that kind of thing. And so this will probably be an extension of that. So I guess the most notable thing in the preacher world is Mike Todd released another super energetic book and hit the New York Times bestseller list again and doing his thing, man. Selling a bazillion books, buying a bunch of commercial real estate, rocking the best kicks. I mean, I've got half of my posts are his new kicks. So more power to him, I guess. Like, you know, you can repurpose sermons into a book. I mean, if you could do that, like if you have a machine where you can repurpose your sermons into a book and then sell them to your fans that go to your church, seems like a pretty good model to keep doing, especially if you're going to keep hitting the New York Times bestseller list. Come to find out, the New York Times bestseller list isn't just based on book sales. It's kind of this like subjective shadow judge group that basically select who gets on the New York Times bestseller list. Like my friend JP, who sold a ton of books, I think, and had a huge splash in writing a book about dating, didn't hit the list. And I think he was just disappointed about that. And I was disappointed for him. And so it's just weird that the things that hit the New York Times bestseller list based on just book sales, just notoriety or whatever. But yeah, congrats to him. Another thing that actually happened yesterday, October 3rd, and this isn't a huge deal, but Nice Kicks, which if you're in the sneaker world, you know, is a kind of a very well-known sneaker store that started in Austin, I think, but their Instagram has like 4.5 million followers. They posted this picture of a preacher on stage as part of his sermon with a big backdrop that says "Got him." It's basically the screenshot of the "Got him" page for the Travis Scott fragment Lows. And there's a picture of him sniffing the Travis Scott Lows in front of the congregation, and people were losing their minds. His name's Rob, and he actually reached out to me because, of course, word travels fast, and this is the most like niche Preachers and Sneakers thing ever, and people were tagging the account a ton. I just thought it was hilarious. He was talking about 2 Corinthians 8 and 9 and about whether or not he should keep them or sell them. I told him I was team sell and go on vacation. And he was like, well, I live in San Francisco. And I was like, okay, that's not going to get you a vacation at all, but $1,000 is $1,000. So you can check it out. It's on Nice Kicks Instagram page. It was posted by a random Twitter guy that went to this guy's church, but I can't remember his name. I guess his name is Ezra at SSX Trick. He says, my church, Wyland. LMAO. It's funny because it's just like so perfect. It's a photo. I mean, clearly it's an out of context thing where he's using it as an illustration. But in today's climate, especially those shoes where they're so hard to get and everyone knows how high the resale value is, it's like you got to expect that you're going to get blown up if you get a photo taken if you're doing that, sniffing the Travis Scott ones. That was funny. So it's October, well into football season, and that is one thing that's been super fun, especially on Sundays. Like, okay, the Sunday scaries don't happen as much when you have a whole day of football to watch. And you may not care about football. You can fast forward through this, but I care about just because it's entertaining. And the Hogs, Arkansas Razorbacks, actually were relevant this year, beating Texas A&M finally after a decade of getting pounded by them. We beat them at Jerry World here in Dallas. And so we had all this hype going into this weekend playing Georgia, who's number 2 in the country. When I say humiliated, it just doesn't even do it justice. Georgia absolutely just murdered us in the most embarrassing ways ever. Like on the first drive, we had 2 false starts in a row. We were like 1st and 25 with our first drive of the whole game. The crowd, I mean, there's like 90,000 people there screaming their heads off. We got beat like 37-0. And so that was a nice, huge, complete humble pie for us to eat as Razorback fans, just when we were getting kind of big in our britches, as they say. But it's been fun to be proud of a football team again, because Arkansas was just embarrassing for the past decade. In the NFL, you know, if you play fantasy sports or fantasy football, it's obviously been a very fun time to be back playing fantasy football. Tom Brady, who's like 70 years old, is playing better than he's ever played in his entire career. I can't remember what the stat is, but he's thrown, I'm going to butcher the stat if I even find it. Actually, I mean, this is my world and I'm on my computer. It's some crazy stat, like, so you hear my loud keyboard. It's this dumb mechanical keyboard that I bought before COVID. Let's see, Sports Illustrated. He's outlasted, you know, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, all of his contemporaries. People are saying he's going to play till he's 50. I mean, Tampa's pretty great, but also Tom is just throwing touchdown after touchdown. I'm trying to find the stat. Anyways, he's playing better than he ever has, and he's like 44 years old. I'm 32, and I literally pulled out my back sitting down on my couch to watch TV. It's absurd that this guy is playing against 350-pound dudes rushing after him and just getting up like a boss. Maybe there's something to that vegan thing. I think he's historically known to be vegan, which is funny. And like on the new school, Kyler Murray is just murdering everyone. If you've got Kyler Murray on your fantasy team, you're destined to be at the top of the leaderboards because this dude just prints points. I mean, he's like 5'10", and this guy is dominating everyone that he plays. It's been pretty fun to watch. It's been not very fun to play against whoever has him in fantasy. Let's see. Stuff we're watching. My wife and I, we're so smoked at the end of the day from working and dealing with the baby and like not getting great sleep throughout the night that we basically sit there and we watch a lot of streaming services. We haven't checked it out yet, but everyone is talking about this Squid Game show. It was like an overdubbed Korean show about some kind of like Saw vibe game where these people play these games that look kind of murdery. And if they outlast everybody, they win a bunch of cash. I don't know. It's the top Netflix show in like 90 countries or something. I saw a stat on that. This isn't new, but we started watching Peaky Blinders a few weeks ago. That show's pretty good. There's some things that you got to fast forward through if you care about that, of which we do, but very entertaining story. And the main guy, who's the main guy? Cillian Murphy. This dude crushes it. This guy is so good. His girl on the show, Annabelle Wallace, she's really good too. I mean, we were also at the same time, since these only come out once a week, which is so annoying. It's like going back to early 2000s TV when we were watching primetime TV. Ted Lasso and Morning Show. I guess there's some strategy around releasing once a week. I guess you're getting eyeballs for longer, but both are basically glorified Apple commercials, but they're really well-produced Apple commercials. We really enjoyed those two shows. Ted Lasso season 2, Morning Show season 2. Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon doing their thing, and then Jason Sudeikis, who's a sneakerhead. On the music side, I think Andy Mineo's album just came out. I know there was a lot of talk about his album getting delayed. Yeah, it's available now. Spotify. I haven't listened to it, but I've been meaning to check it out. Andy Mineo, the homie. I mean, we haven't met in person. We've talked over Instagram. Oh, it's got Words Played on it. It's got Chandler Moore, of course. Lecrae. Oh, Coming in Hot is on the album. Neverland 2. Okay, well, everyone knows that song. Yeah, Lecrae's on a couple songs. Words Played. Dude, I freaking love Words Played. He's the most underrated rapper in the CHH space, I think. You should check him out. So definitely check out Andy Mineo's album. I'm going to after this. And there's probably a Maverick City Music album out. Those people just continue to dominate everything without a label. I just know they're printing money. Everything they put out gets raved. I mean, I think they're on a tour right now and selling out. The traditional Christian music executives have got to be scared for their jobs a little bit, since there's this group here that have no connections to labels and they're just dominating everyone. It's not a competition, but it's kind of a competition when Christianity is like a capitalistic complex, when it's all about ticket sales and merch and streams, that kind of thing. But I mean, the music is objectively good. I really like it. On the sneaker side, it's just like, this is the thing. I run a faith-based sneaker account, but more and more as, life goes on, sneakers go lower and lower in the priority list. Like, I haven't bought a pair of sneakers in, 6 months or a year to wear. And I bought a couple to try to resell, and I think they were bricks. You can actually see them back right here. It's the undefeated Kobe 4s and then the Jordan 1 like reverse shadow 2.0s. Sneakers have just gone lower and lower as, you got to buy diapers and mortgages and freaking food, all that kind of stuff. But Yeezy did release the October releases for their sneakers, and there's a few that actually look really sick. For the longest time, they've kind of had this tired, basically change the shade of the Yeezy 350 V2 one. I don't know what's the metric for changing color shades, but they change it incrementally. But now they've got a couple kind of digital looking silhouettes. The colorway looks really nice. So definitely check out the Yeezy releases for October. Yeah, the Yeezy Boost 350 V2 MX Oat. It's yellow and orange with some blue accents too. It looks pretty sweet. October 23rd, $220. And there's also a Red October. It's unofficially Red October. It's called the Vermilion Yeezy Foam Runner, which is that really kind of weird Crocs looking shoe that Yeezy came out with. But there's a red version. It looks like the same colorway as the Red Octobers. And so those are definitely going to sell out $75. It just says October 2021. We don't know when they're going to release. So that's sneakers. Again, it's like I've got no money to spend on sneakers these days. I stay informed of the big things that happen in sneakers, but I'm really, in as much as I know it's like I'm just not trying to be a buzzkill, but it's like the reality is when you have a kid and a job, I mean, when do you have time to run an Instagram and look up shoes? So rounding this thing out, there's a couple books that I'm reading currently that these are friends of mine that are way better authors than I that I just want to plug because they've been really great to me and their books are legitimately outstanding. So Kate Bowler, No Cure for Being Human, she just released this like a week ago and she's a New York Times bestselling author as well. She's got every endorsement she could ever need, so she doesn't need my endorsement by any means. I mean, this book could say that puppies are horrible and pizza tastes like dirt, and I would still promote it because everything she writes is beautiful, and she has a really great story. If you haven't checked her out, Kate Bowler, you can buy this, No Cure for Being Human. And then I just got this in the mail today for the people with chillins, but Annie F. Downs, who is just the queen of fun, just sent me this, What Sounds Fun to You? And we're planning on reading this to our boy Davis. Annie F. Downs, I mean, if you haven't read her stuff or listened to her podcast, you're missing out. So those are two things I'm checking out. And that's it. This pod was purely for me to say what I wanted to say, when I wanted to say it. And I hope you stick around. I hope you subscribe to the YouTube if you're listening on YouTube. And hopefully we'll be able to refine this content even more. Oh, Manifest. Yep, that's it. The show we were watching before Peaky Blinders, nobody cares. But we were watching Manifest on Netflix, kind of a guilty pleasure. It's kind of a dumb, I don't know. It's really interesting, but also kind of a dumb premise. You just have to watch it on Netflix. It was entertaining for us. I think they're making one more season of it. Anyways, so thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Subscribe if you want to. Also, I'm not forcing you to do anything. You can subscribe or not. You can go to PreachersNSneakers.com, check out the merch, the book, the email list, all that good stuff, or not. I mean, I'm a grown man with a kid and a job. So me begging for likes and subscriptions is not in plan now. Yeah, I appreciate all the support. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.